YouTube, I have a question for you. If you had to pick a second favorite protein, do you have one or not? Most diehard fans are going to say, nope, my team is this team, and that's it. So it's a good question to think about. I'm one of those as well. However, I'm going to tell you that the reason I'm making this video is because if I had to pick a second favorite protein, I'm going to identify those. I grew up in the 1980s as a little boy watching Dodger baseball. It was my passion. It was my first love. Baseball is something that I always played, especially catch. Growing up in Los Angeles, I didn't really have the opportunity to actually hit a lot, so I played catch all the time, whether it was baseball or football. I loved it. Like I said, Dodger baseball. I'll begin with baseball. Dodgers are number one for me, always have been, no doubt about that. In the summer of the 1980s, I would watch Chicago Cubs baseball because this was even before they had their lights installed, which I think was in 1988. So they were all day games when they played at Wrigley Field. And because of that, I just loved baseball. I would watch the Chicago Cubs every summer on WGN in Los Angeles. WGN, just like WTBS, which is Atlanta, at the time was nationwide. I was exposed to the Chicago Cubs, so my second favorite baseball team has always been the Chicago Cubs. And what's interesting is in 2017 in the playoffs, the Dodgers and the Cubs faced each other. Of course I was going for the Dodgers, and I was a little bit upset that the Cubs beat the Dodgers. It took me maybe a year just to get over that. Of course I celebrate, and I'm happy that the Chicago Cubs finally got a World Series. But what's interesting is I heard someone say, I think people liked the Chicago Cubs more when they were the lovable losers. So for Major League Baseball, Dodgers, Cubs, when they face each other, definitely always going for the Dodgers. And I'm upset that they lost in 2017, the World Series against the Houston Astros. I think I said the Cubs and the Dodgers met up in 17 to advance to the World Series. They did, but in 2016, that's what I meant. The Cubs defeated the Dodgers and won the World Series. Basketball. Growing up in Los Angeles, again in the 80s, Showtime, Lakers, and then in the early 2000s, Kobe and Shaq, back-to-back-to-back, three-peat championship. Los Angeles Lakers number one. What's interesting is if I had to pick a second favorite team, this is the curveball. I don't think any of you would guess who my second NBA team is, so a shout out to A-Rock because I believe he likes the Timberwolves, and that is my second favorite team. Maybe you're going to assume that I like the Timberwolves because the Lakers came from Minneapolis, and the answer is no. The reason I like the Timberwolves is I love and always have loved their uniforms, and I love that. So that's what caught my attention. If I had to pick a second favorite NBA team, Minnesota Timberwolves. And I do have two of their jerseys. I have a Mark Madsen jersey that he signed, and I have two beautiful game-worn Minnesota Timberwolves Ronny Turiaf jersey. Two of them, jerseys. Let's move on to football. And growing up in Los Angeles, like I said, in the 80s, excuse me, I just had nose surgery. I had a deviated septum, and that was a week and a half ago, so I haven't completely healed. It itches, but I can breathe a lot better. So, football. Football was the least of my favorite sports up until now, and now I love football. Especially that Los Angeles has two football teams, again, because we didn't have it. Growing up, I went to a Los Angeles Raiders game in the 80s. They played the Seahawks, and if I'm not mistaken, the Raiders defeated the Seahawks. So I grew up, number one, Los Angeles Raiders, Oakland Raiders. Number two, Los Angeles Rams. St. Louis Rams. And I was very happy in 2000, 2001 when the St. Louis Rams won the Super Bowl. However, things have changed as of the last 2 years. My number one football team is the Los Angeles Rams, and I'm excited, extremely excited to have football back in Los Angeles, and they're a good team. I do have some vintage stuff from the Los Angeles Rams when they were there that I've always kept. Number one is Los Angeles Rams. Number two is the Raiders. I'm not happy that they're moving to Vegas, but I still support and enjoy watching the Raiders. Is it the Chargers? No. Chargers are maybe number three, but 1 and 2, Los Angeles Rams, Oakland Raiders for sure. The last pro team that I'll talk about or sport is NHL. Los Angeles Kings, number one. And I remember watching them in the Stanley Cup. I think it was 1994, and they lost. They had Wayne Gretzky, Barry Melrose was the coach, some other players as well. Hockey is not a sport that I really enjoy a lot, but I do watch occasionally. Out of the 4 sports that I've talked about, it's my number 4 of preference. Los Angeles Kings, number 1. And if I had to pick a second pro team in the NHL, I'm going to go with the only team that I really support in Colorado, because I live in Colorado now, and that is the Colorado Avalanche. I've been to one game. They played the Ducks. I was going for the Ducks because I'm from Southern California, but I'll support the Colorado Avalanche. So I'm interested in you. First of all, identify in the comments below your pro teams for those 4 sports: baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. And if you had to pick, now you don't have to, you can say, not going to happen, I'm not doing it, and that's fine, I just want to know. So definitely pick a second favorite team if you have to, or come back and say, that's not going to happen. I stick to these 4 teams and these sports, and that's it. Good question. I thought about it. I've been kind of busy, but I'm going to get very busy with this channel. Let me know. Take care.